Hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. Of course, we are discussing all matters. Con and Annie Kirby Memorial. As you can see, I'm joined by the Exile Dub and an Exile Limerick man. Joe Sheahan is with us here today. You can see the guitar in the background. We're very lucky to get him, to be honest. He's the busiest man in show business. Joe, very welcome. Not sure about the Dicky Bow, but you are more than welcome to Talking Dogs on this Monday.
Ian, when I'm going toe to toe with any of your knowledge, I'm not going to beat you on the knowledge front, but I'm trying to beat you on the fashion front. So we'll give it a stab. It's an absolute pleasure to be here and to even to be asked to be involved, in this forum for the Kirby. It's absolutely fantastic. What a competition, and massive, massive thanks to the McManus family. I was so thrilled to see them winning the Grand National last week. Hope Limerick.
Yeah, Limerick need another winner. Isn't that what they need, Tommy? But the hurling's going so badly for them
so.
and whatnot, and that poor JP fella, like he has no luck with the horses at all.
Things are tough, aren't they?
Listen, it helps them pay the bills at the end of the month. You know yourself. No, listen, everything you said, we agree with, Joe. This continues to be just a competition of unbelievable quality. Some great storylines and some great performances on Saturday night just gone. Tommy, we saw two wonderful semi-finals. We've seen 6 cracking greyhounds go through to what should be an absolutely intriguing final.
And what you say is right. When we talked last week, we were saying we found it nearly impossible, and which is good because it actually worked out as we thought. Two really, really competitive semi-finals. Yes, they kind of turned into maybe 2-dog races for the winning of the race, but they were both cracking contests, and they were both won by dogs who were driving hard to get to the line. It was just. I was, when you can't seem to get a grip on a stake, you wonder about it a bit. But actually, I was just delighted to see how good they were, how good they really, really were. And when you see that it's 11-4, co-favourite to 3, priced up for the final, that'll tell you how open next week's final is.
It's certainly very open. There's no question about it. I have my own views on the pricing of it, but we'll get into that. Joe, 2 wonderful semi-finals. Obviously, just a spot between them, and in second spot, Romeo Kingpin not beaten too far. Scooby Pacemaker beaten even less in the second heat. So, certainly on current form, it's anybody's. Anything could happen in this final. Even 1 or 2 of the bigger price runners have terrific early speed, so you can't be dismissing any dog.
I'm only a young Garsoon, but I don't remember a final that had 3 co-favourites, all 11-4. And as you said, Ian, I think you hit a great point there. There's been wonderful stories of this year's competition. Look at 17-year-old Dan Rahley. Knocky and Dazzler went toe-to-toe with Romeo Kingpin and beat him fair and square. What a run, 28-23. And Dan was interviewed after. He said they've only 2 dogs in the kennel. Yeah. And he's coming out and doing a run like that. Absolutely phenomenal. And it's wonderful to see young people doing so well in the game, and long may it last. Great to see it.
Yeah, I was talking to Damien Matthews at the National Greyhound Awards on Friday night, and they were more than hopeful with Merit's inclusion. But you must also give them a mention because they bred and reared Knocky and Dazzler. It's an amazing achievement. They have a great history in the Kirby Memorial. Obviously, they've won it twice with Cable Bay and Boyle Sports Hero, and they have Merit's inclusion. It was a wonderful winner of the second heat. Let's get into the 2 heats, and we'll start with the opening heat. Is probably the best place to start. And this was Knocky and Dazzler. Joe, you've already mentioned him. Early speed wins the races. He reminds me a bit of the Stone Park King dog from a couple of years ago. Just a dog where he's well housed on the outside, makes the most of his draw. He's got professional early speed, got to the front early. Romeo Kingpin, you've got to say, had every chance to get to him, but he just kicked again off the last bend. I am very, very remiss to rule this dog's chances out. He has improved steadily through the competition. He has a little bit of age on his side. Like, he has gone 2 years of age, whereas 1 or 2 of his rivals haven't. But this fellow is really flying at present.
Absolutely. One thing I noted about him, in the first round, his splits were, he did 28-48, 12-44. He came home in 12-44. In the semi-final, he came home in 12-17. So he's improving 27 spots. That's 4 lengths in a couple of weeks. That's, I suppose, he's a young dog. He's entitled to improve it. But when he's starting and he's staying, he has it all. It's like 16:04 to the third bend. Is serious running. This is a serious dog and huge chance in the final.
Yeah, it's a fantastic run from him. Tommy Knockeen Dazzler, this son of Law Hill Blake. Of course, Law Hill Blake was represented at National Greyhound Awards of the night, one of the stud dogs nominated for Stud Dog of the Year. He's produced the early speed, and maybe the stamina is coming from the dam side. Love Island is a full sister to the likes of Unlock and Lock and Coolavani Chick. What a pedigree they are. Million Dreams, of course. He's Love Island and our big Knockeen Dazzler and Merit's Inclusion, the two heat winners, are out of sisters. So like there's plenty of stamina there as well as a bit of speed.
Sorry, I love the performances, to be honest about it, because as you said, Romeo Kingpin did really well at the first bend to drive into the bend, hold his position against plenty of competition, and to get to it in. He all but joined Knockeen Dazzler, not quite, but all but joined him around the bends. But Knockeen Dazzler kept it to half a length down the back, and then drove on hard from there. Like, you're a wide seed, you're trying to go around dogs, you're showing early pace, you're wondering, what Joe said about the kind of slower section earlier in the competition. You're wondering, will he be able to hold on? I mean, not that we have Romeo Kingpin down as a very strong stayer at the moment. He's a dog that's developing. You're wondering, can Knockeen Dazzler, having done so much work at the outside, can he hold on? Geez, he actually drove to the line. I just love the performance. And actually,
he really did. Off
I know
that
things
last
haven't
bend,
gone.
he really did kick home.
He really did, Ian. And that's what I was saying. That's what from both heats, they were very similar. Both heats kind of caught my eye for the way that the winner drove on again to the line. You can say that we'll get on to the minute about Scooby Pacemaker. He was finishing well, but actually I think Merit's Inclusion was going hard to the line to hold them all the way up the straight. And I think Knockeen Dazzler was a bit like that. I just love both performances. They were very similar, even though, like, I mean, the races are run a little differently. They were very similar coming up the straight, and it makes it even more difficult. And the draw, my God, the draw for the final has thrown it absolutely wide open. It makes it even more difficult.
Yeah, it does indeed. Back in third was Epic Chick. She didn't get the start. She's struggling for a bit of position into the opening corner. Ballamac Patriot looked to be in a lovely position going into the bend, but just couldn't get around Romeo Kingpin. There's a bit of crowding in the middle, but in good time and barefoot and fire. All of a sudden, Epic Chick finds herself third early in the back straight, and thereafter she's always going to stay on strongly, which she does. She's very, very strong indeed. There's no question she's going to need her finding trapping boots, but she has 28 seconds on her card, so she can't be dismissed. She's beaten 6 lengths behind Romeo Kingpin, who in turn was 2.5 lengths behind Knockeen Dazzler. Romeo Kingpin, obviously, he too has plenty of speed, 28-23 on his card around Limerick, and he favours that inside draw. It's just three greyhounds after going through here that are capable of 28-20 every single night of the week. It just so happens that Knockeen Dazzler is the one that's probably most likely to go fast every single night, and I think that's been the difference with him compared to some of the other dogs. We liked him in the opening rounds, Tommy. We just didn't think he had it on the clock. As Joe said, he's now coming home that 3 or 4 lengths faster. He seems to be strengthening up. This was only his 10th start or 11th start the other evening. There's no guarantee that he won't even go faster.
Yeah, like in the previous round, he's actually not beaten that far. But when they pop out in the lead and they're picked off, no matter what, it's almost a kind of a construct of your own mind. And in some ways, when you see that, you see a dog first, second, third, finish third, you're kind of going, oh, well, he's not very strong or whatever. That's like, I don't know. I know I said about Romeo Kingpin, but I still really liked it, because if you look back behind, I know Epic Chick didn't get a clear run, and Epic Chick is just not at the 28 second. She's not in that sort of form at the moment, the way she produced that run. But she wasn't really finding a huge amount against them up front. They were rattling to the men, even though Romeo Kingpin, and this is what gives him a chance next week too. He wasn't, folding. He wasn't just tamely kind of, oh, enough is enough now, I've done my bit. It took a big performance from Knockeen Dazzler to pull 2.5 lengths clear of him. I don't know. I really like this performance.
Yeah, the 3 that didn't qualify, we've already given them a mention there. Ballymac Patriot just didn't really happen for him in Limerick. There's no question he was probably in the process again of running a good race on Saturday night, only for just left short of room of the opening corner, but that has been the story of Limerick for him. And I'm sure there's better to come from him. He just never really got a chance to get loose around the place and sort of get a handle of it. And I think we'll see far better from him in the near future. In good time, ran very well through the competition, just again crowded out in the opening corner. The same for Barefoot and Fire, but three very worthy finalists going through to next week. And now on to the second semi-final, and it was Merritt's Inclusion. Sorry, I said that the Knocky and Daz remind me of Stone Park King. I meant Stone Park Leo, of course, who won it 2 or 3 years back there for Michael O'Donovan and Sean O'Dwyer, Michael O'Dwyer. Knocky and Dazzler, great early speed on the outside. We're looking to clear around the outside. Merritt's Inclusion reminds me of another Kirby Memorial champion. I think his profile is very similar to Clonbrine Treaty of last year. Just, he needs to brush up in his starting, but once he gets on the ground, he really motors into the opening corner. He's moving off a little bit at parts, but I think he is going to be an inside seed going forward. But just his rate of progression through this competition, he took the eye out of my head on his debut in Shelburne Park at the back end of last year. And, there were a few runs in the middle where he did look like he's still very, very green. He still looks a bit green, but the other night, 28-24, he showed great speed to get up the inside of Phoenix Tyson. Once doing so, he quickly put it to bed, although he really had to dig in, as you said, Tommy, against Scooby Pacemaker. Joe, Merritt's Inclusion is a big, big player. And again, of all the finalists, perhaps the one that's, again, most open to improvement.
Yeah, I think the Matthews family, the way they campaigned him here, they came down to Limerick a couple of weeks before it, and those couple of runs in Limerick really stood to him. Limerick is it's a tough track. It's a stiff track. And he's getting used to the place week in, week out. He had 2 A1 races around Limerick. He came third and fifth. He came into this competition not one of the leading lights. Not taking nothing away from the dog, but the class of dogs around it, he wasn't one of the leading lights. And he has just progressed and progressed and progressed all the way through. And that 28-24 run, as you said, similar profile. Wouldn't be surprised if there was a 28-10 in him next week if he came out and things went his way. He drives so much into that first bend. It's almost like he's going so fast into it that he kind of stops a bit. And I wonder, is he going to cause a bit of traffic issues at that first bend?
It is notable. He wasn't quite as wide the other evening as he has been the other 2 nights. He is probably just getting used to it that bit much as well. Phoenix Tyson, of course, is trying to cut across him at that point. He showed terrific early speed on the outside. He's a very natural starter. We saw him winning a valuable stake at Shelburne Park not too long ago, and his early speed has been very notable. Barry Call actually gave him a good mention earlier in the competition on this platform. I think he is in backed each way at 50-1, so hopefully he's after getting a few shekels on the each way money there. Merritt's Inclusion, though, is the one that you have to take out of the race. Tommy, Scooby Pacemaker. Jennifer O'Donnell suggested last year that that's the end of her sort of Derby run. Perhaps she didn't know if she had the strength of the kennel. Soon after that, Seven Beach came out and did a huge run. And Scooby Pacemaker, they thought an awful lot of this fellow early. I spoke to her on Friday night. I think she thinks she put him in too hot too quickly. And he sort of got a bit lost himself. And he only seems to be sort of clicking again now. It was, again, another huge run from him in defeat. But, again, it's down to Merritt's Inclusion. I don't know if Scooby Pacemaker was ever going to get past him. Does that make sense?
I kind of agree with you, Ian. Perhaps Merritt's Inclusion didn't move off as much because Phoenix Tyson protects him from doing that. Phoenix Tyson was coming with pace, as you said, was coming in a little bit, just trying to run its bend. And Merritt's Inclusion met him maybe at the perfect spot where they didn't, in fact, nearly knock each other over, thankfully. And the bit of bumping maybe helped Merritt's Inclusion. But I think what Scooby Pacemaker is at the moment, and he can develop, of course, he doesn't do anything that looks like he's in a rush. Doesn't fly out, doesn't fly to the bend, doesn't fly home. He seems to do it all in a pickup process, if you know what I mean. Gradually warming up as the race goes on, and like, I don't think he was ever going to get to Merritt's Inclusion. I always felt like Merritt's Inclusion had him held even while I was watching the race.
I think the best part of his race the other night was 2 to 3. I thought he showed a lot of pace down the back straight.
He did, but I still think to me it feels like it's a build up. It's a gradual build up, which when you're doing 28, 27, it's pretty great. It's more than gradual, but you know what I mean. I'm talking about in this company at this level. He can sharpen things up. I'm sure that he will improve as the season goes on. But I take nothing away from Merritt's inclusion here. I actually love the early pace, the pace into the bend. He broke level with Scooby Pacemaker and had just far too much early pace for him. And Phoenix Tyson, like this is great training again, getting Phoenix Tyson out as well from what could have been a tricky draw, getting him to fly out and lead into the bend. And for a dog who's down as an early pacer and is the rank outsider for next week's final, to be able to shift a bit of a bump at the first bend and still qualify. Yes, he's beaten quite well in the end. I think 7.5, 8 lengths in total. He's beaten quite well, but he still qualified because the other dogs had a Fay Point Sean. Yes, he got trouble, but he's another dog that stays well. Radical Harry, a likely race dog that's improving, and Feisty Mo. Like, it was a good quality race. So I think I was quite impressed by Felix Tyson actually qualifying, given that he received quite a hefty bump at the first bend. But
yeah, and a dog of his ilk, that's the place where you don't want to be getting the bump. You need him carrying all his momentum into the back straight to maintain his position, to watch out for the dogs in behind. But he recovered well from it. Yes, he's well beaten, as you said, but it could have easily been much worse. But he showed a willing attitude.
Yeah, he did. I liked it actually, and I liked it. And you could imagine if he got around in front, that he might have held it all the way to the third bend. And all of a sudden he ends up beating 3 lengths instead of 8 lengths. That sort of way. So there was a lot to like about it, but it still doesn't make the final any easier for me to figure out. And he's a player. He's important in the final.
Very much so, and we will get to that. I know where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Scooby Pacemaker, Joe. Jennifer, obviously, in a crest of a wave. She'd have to win the last 2 derbies, and here she is now with a serious challenger in the final of the Con and Annie Kirby Memorial. It's some achievement. Obviously, he's bred in the purple. He was bred to be a champion, and as I've said, it's taken a while. He's shown glimpses. He had like his 28-29 in Shelburne last September, so he's not exactly been slow or anything like it, but just it's more in his own mind's development, just to learn how to treat a race rather than just, oh, I didn't get loose that night, I'm not going to, get the gaps. I'll just leave it out and I'll stay out here and whatnot. He's showing more drive is what I'm saying now.
The late, great Dennis O'Malley, who was honoured in the Hall of Fame, he was always have a good saying for me. It was an ounce of breeding is worth a ton of feeding. And I can remember Scooby Pacemaker's then running around Limerick. Scooby Princess, she was a phenomenal bitch, and it's great for Stephen Oman and all the crew there with that syndicate. And as you quite rightly said, phenomenal run, 28-27. Has a 2:05 done around Shelburne Park. And if Pacemaker puts it together, on the night, is capable of a huge run. I think Tommy hits the nail on the head there. He's not doing anything. A consistent dog, but is not really standing out in any area. He is coming home at about 12-15, which is quite strong. But from that draw, he could get loose on tonight.
It is worth pointing out that on Saturday night. Now, I did fancy Merritt's inclusion. It has to be said. From what I saw the other evening, I just think Merritt's inclusion has more early speed. Simple as that. Yeah. And I think that's clear. The fact of the matter is the 2 dogs are level, and by the opening corner, Merritt's inclusion's a good sort of length and a half in front of them, maybe even 2. And I think that could be the key to the final. Scooby Pacemaker, however, has got a draw. And he is probably where he wants to be, towards the inside. Again, much will depend on whether he can clear Romeo Kingpin, but we'll get to that in a few moments. But I think Merritt's inclusion in trap 3 is nearly ideal. To be honest, I don't think there's a badly housed dog in the race. And again, we'll get to that. But I just think Merritt's inclusion at this moment in time, the progress that he's showing week on week, one thing I missed out on there, I meant to mention, like, if you look at his sectionals, just the first sectional, the first round of the Kirby, it is 145. Then it's a 139. Then it's a 136. And the other night, it's a 130. I'm not saying he's going to do a 127 or 128 next week, but certainly wouldn't be surprised to any of us. But even if he did the 130, he's going to be right there on the opening corner.
Yeah, he's going the right direction, and you'd have to say, he keeps bringing it down, and he wouldn't be surprised if he does knock out another couple of spots at that. But it's going to be, there's a lot of early pacers in the race. That opening bend is going to be, I know it's crucial in every race, but if there's ever a night it's going to be crucial, it's going to be that opening corner. I do wonder about its inclusion. He's, as Tommy said, Tyson was kind of maybe blocking him off. He didn't have room to go out. But in the earlier rounds, he was moving off, and he just has so much pace and drive into that bend. He's driving so genuinely into that bend. I do wonder if it could cause some some traffic problems at the first bend and leave a bit of room open for Kingpin and Pacemaker on the inside, and that's why I'm probably favouring the winner coming from the inside.
The three that didn't make it through were Fate Point Sheahan, balked on the opening corner. He was just struggling to get to the corner. That was his issue. He just didn't really find his trapping boots in the competition. There's no question, a huge engine there. His brother had no problems with the engine or the start in Toaster the following day. He won the Time Greyhound Juvenile, which must give that a mention. And we might do it again later on. Fate Point Sheahan was fourth. Radical Harry was fifth. His just lack of experience was an issue through the competition. He's shown all sorts of ability. 28-20 or 28-18 on debut, and a good 28-50 run in the it was the third round, beg your pardon. No, second round, 28-50. But just again, struggled to get loose thereafter. And Feshti's Mo, well, she was a star through the competition, showing lovely turn of early speed. She'll win an absolute bucket full of races before she's done. But again, she was 10-1 the other evening, so probably no surprise she didn't qualify. And certainly when she couldn't clear the likes of Merritt's Inclusion, the Scooby Pacemaker, she was really up against it thereafter. But they all played their part in making this a very memorable Kirby Memorial. Let's look at the final, gentlemen. Go ahead, Tommy.
No, I was just saying it's impressive to see two little sisters producing the two heat winners in the Kirby, and like the line goes back. Obviously, Tom's delighted with the Grand Dam, but the line goes back to Martinstown gold. So that's I just have good memories of the Martinstown at the time. That Martinstown gold was racing back about how long ago that had been.
It's a long time.
We were in Shelburne Park a lot. I was in Shelburne Park a lot at the time, anyway.
Yeah, if you look at every one of the, like, even every single, like, even Woodhill Spark is the Grand Dam.
Yeah.
You know, and like she's a sister to Kildallan Maid, who's the dam of Ballydoyle Honey, who has herself been thrown. They go back to Martinstown Gold. Yeah. I can remember Martinstown Lady, the dam of Martinstown Gold. Like, it's just a phenomenal pedigree. You know what I mean? It's just unbelievable. No, it's some unbelievable greyhounds in the line.
You're shoving on a bit, but still no grey hairs there.
No, and no Dickie Bows either. Let's get to the final of the Con and Annie Kirby Memorial. Tommy, we'll leave Pee Wee Herman for a moment. In one, Romeo Kingpin, two, Scooby Pacemaker, three, Merritt's Inclusion, four, Epic Chick, five, Phoenix Tyson, and six, Knockeen Dazzler. Now, I do have a strong opinion on the race. I think you were sort of hinting at the likes of Phoenix Tyson, Knockeen Dazzler. The fact that they're drawn the way they are is an issue for Knockeen Dazzler, but it's also an issue for Phoenix Tyson. There's going to be a very strong battle on the outside, you'd imagine, for dominance. Epic Chick, she's going to need to sharpen up, and then Romeo Kingpin and Scooby Pacemaker on the inside. We haven't mentioned Merritt's Inclusion because I'm just counting on him breaking on terms. And I think if he breaks on terms, I think he'll be gone in the top two. And I think one of the bottom two will be there to act very much like Phoenix Tyson did the other evening. And that could be the key to the race. I would have Merritt's Inclusion favourite, full stop.
What sort of price are you talking, maybe?
I'd be having around a 7-4 2-1 chance.
That's a big chance. It's a big difference, yeah. If Merritt's Inclusion is gone on the front two, Merritt's Inclusion will win because Epic Chick tends to step out a little bit from there. So Phoenix Tyson, if you swap Knockeen Dazzler and Phoenix Tyson, just say for argument's sake only, would you be happier with Knockeen Dazzler's chance? I think it's going to be difficult for Knockeen Dazzler to clear Phoenix Tyson. But the fact that Epic Chick, even though she doesn't have the early pace of them, her tendency to take a step to the right won't be held. I actually thought initially that she might be value, but when they put her in 5-1, I was like, well, that forget about that. Like, I thought she might be twice that price, and you might say, because the 28-second run is there and the ability is there. It would, of course, be a little bit concerned that she didn't pick up as well as I'd hoped she might the last day. If she had closed it down to maybe 3 or 4 lengths off the two in front of her, that would have been something. But she was a long way behind them. So I'm with Joe on this one. I think it's the inside. I know it looks pretty obvious when you have 311 4 co-favorites in traps 1, 2, and 3, but I just don't know how the outside trio are going to untangle themselves. Now, I'm not as convinced as you are that Merritt's Inclusion can fully clear Romeo Kingpin. Now, maybe twice, he's proven he can do it to Pacemaker. He certainly did the other night anyway. He proved that he had the pace to clear Scooby Pacemaker quite well. The fact that Epic Chick takes a step to the right, I think that's a big help to Merritt's Inclusion. That gives him the little bit of space he might want in the first 25 yards. And if he can start to get loose from there and get around the bend, in my opinion, the race is over. He's not getting picked up.
Yeah.
Now, I think
and don't get me wrong, I also have a view that if Phoenix Tyson was a different greyhound, let's say a dog with not such good starting ability, I
yeah,
would have had Nocky and Dazzler in the second favorite.
yeah,
But the presence of Phoenix Tyson is the issue there. Now, it was always going to be that way because Nocky and Dazzler is the sole wide seed. You know, Phoenix
yes,
Tyson is a middle seed. And in fairness to
hence
him,
the
we've seen him
reason.
at Shelburne, he is a middle seed. He's edging in on the corner the other night. So he is a true middle seed. He isn't a wide seed.
Yeah,
Whereas Nocky and Dazzler has handled the wide seed very well and looks like a true wide seed. In theory, Joe, it's worked out great. You know, you've got 3 insides, 2 middles, 1 wide. You know, it's not a race where you can ignore any dog in it. They're all capable of running. There's no dog guaranteed to find traffic or anything like it. And every dog, and every one of them is capable of a ping. And a ping could change the complexion of this race immediately. So, you know, we can't sort of speak with huge confidence because anything can happen in a final. And all it takes is one dog to make a ping start and it's a different race. But on what we've seen, I've given my view. I think Merit's Inclusion will clear the inside duo. And if doing so, I think he'll be in a lovely position on that opening corner.
I think there's from the inside there, I think Romeo Kingpin has the best draw. You know, he's the least likely to encounter any difficulty. He's doing 4:22. You know, he has the early speed, and I think he's likely to go around maybe without any traffic. I do have Merit's Inclusion. I can just see maybe a bit of traffic happening at that first bend. I know I was talking to Ian Riley, and he was saying he'd probably prefer to be inside Epic Chick with her tendency to step out to the right. So as you said, if Knocking Dazzler, I mean, you know, he's been absolutely foot perfect in the last couple of weeks, and taking nothing away from the dog. But that's the reason I'd side with Romeo Kingpin from the inside. I can just see maybe a small bit of traffic there at the first bend and Romeo Kingpin having that clean run. There's a lot of strong stairs in the race, but there's no super stairs like the Machine, who used to come home in 11:95 or 12 seconds, or Bombardier, you know, those type of dogs. So I think if Romeo Kingpin can get out in front, and I think he's most likely to do that, you don't have those 11:95, those 12-second dogs who can, you know, encounter a bump and come from behind him. I think he's likely. So that's why he'd be my pick. But as you said, if any one of them ping it and can do that 4:10 to the first corner, it lights out and it shows over, because, you know, they're all staying relatively strong. They're all doing that 12:20 are kind of better coming home.
Yeah,
so
you make a valid point there. It's a long time in the Kirby since we didn't have a big finisher in it, a dog that could come off the pace. This year, Tommy, am I right in saying, with maybe the exception of Phoenix Tyson, that whatever leads sort of not so much the first corner, because dogs can move off and whatnot and leave inside gaps and whatnot, but whatever dog leads into the back straight is very likely to win it?
Well, I actually think if Romeo Kingpin flies out, it increases Scooby Pacemaker's chance immensely. Because if Scooby Pacemaker breaks well and is caught between Romeo Kingpin and Merit's Inclusion, then he's in trouble, because Merit's Inclusion is gonna accelerate by him going into the bend, and Romeo Kingpin's on his inside and he's in a bit of trouble. But if they both fly out, or Romeo Kingpin particularly, because Romeo Kingpin can be a blocker to Merit's Inclusion. Can be. There's probably not getting Roman Kingpin didn't fly out the other night. He held his line very, very well. I liked the attitude. I liked the way he did it, but he didn't show real early zip the other night. And if that's the case again, then Scooby Pacemaker's probably in a bit of trouble. But if he flies out Roman Kingpin, and so does Merit's Inclusion, there's potential for a little bit of trouble there. Or at the very least, there's potential for Merit's Inclusion, who, in my opinion, is the most likely winner. There's potential for him to find a little bit of, be held up, maybe not trouble, even just be held up enough to give Scooby Pacemaker a chance.
How likely is Romeo Kingpin to make a flying start? Yes, he's a 125, but just looking through his card, we saw him in Cork, we've seen him in Limerick. He hasn't led all that often. He did a 125 from trap 3. He's done 131 and 137. Now, I think Merit's Inclusion is definitely a half length faster from that line into the corner at least. Plus, I would imagine, Joe, it'll be pretty raucous at Limerick on Saturday night, given the aspect with the GAA clubs, the fact that there should be a pretty young population on show. I would imagine it'll be a pretty loud evening. Will the inside suit Romeo Kingpin?
I think looking at his splits there, he has 4:11 and 4:19 done. Like, that is serious early. And yeah, as you said, I almost forgot to mention it's fantastic. The GAA club's participation this year has been phenomenal, and the scenes from the puck fodder and kick fodder in the middle of the field are absolutely fantastic. It's great to see, and down through the years, the GAA and the Greyhound community have always had a very, very strong link. And just massive thanks to the McManus family for their sponsorship and bringing that involvement with the GAA clubs. It's absolutely fantastic. And for clubs, who are going door to door and fundraising events, to have the chance of winning €10,000 there on Saturday night, it's club changing money.
I know South Liberties aren't there though. What's the
Yeah.
story? Did no one swing that though?
Not yet. I'm sure they will come good. They will come good.
What's your club again?
Askeaton. We're only a small club now.
No sign of them there now. No sign of Askeaton either.
We were there a couple of years ago, remember?
To be honest, Joe, you put on a free show down there and charge tenner in for everyone for the club now. They'd probably make 20 or 30,000. You know what I mean? You'd be huge crowds joining the Joe show, I'm sure.
A tenner would be too cheap for the Joe show, Ian. A tenner would be too cheap. But yeah, no, best of luck to all the J clubs. They'll be out in their drove on Saturday night. We'll give them a quick mention. Romeo Kingpin runs for Killeedy GA Club in West Limerick. Some fantastic greyhound men from Killeedy. Patrick's Camogie Club have Pacemaker. Cappamore Camogie Club have Merits Inclusion. Gerald Griffin's GA Club have Epic Chick. Ahan GA Club, who of course have the Morrissey brothers, and the great Mick Mackey have Phoenix Tyson, and Mount Collins GA Club have Knocking Dazzler.
And here's one for you, Joe. They also had my father at one point, Ahan. Now, I don't think he actually played under the name of Michael Fortune, but that's a different story altogether, okay? Call it, Joe. Give me your 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, Romeo Kingpin for me. Just because it's a draw, and if you can do around that 420, he'll probably just have that bit of racing room. And of course, Graham Holland. I mean, what a trainer! He's won the last 2 run-ins. It's he's coming from a grey kennel. It just depends how much traffic there is on the outside. I'd love to see Knocking. Well, I'd love to see them all win, but Knocking Dazzler to show that young people are doing so well in the game and can do it. I'd love to see for young Dan Riley. I'd love to see Knocking Dazzler do really well. But yeah, I'd say Romeo Kingpin, Merits Inclusion, and maybe Epic Chick. If you can repeat a hint of that 28-second run to be staying on. But yeah, just on the draw alone, I'd say Romeo Kingpin, but that's not to take from any of these dogs. They're a phenomenal final, and I don't think I've ever seen a final like three joint favourites 11-4. Have you in recent times? Anyway, I've not.
No, sure, it's very, very rare, and even then, it's a bookmaker's sort of natural inclination to try and make a favourite for people to sort of latch on to or get. So the very fact that they're going 11-4 co-favourites of 3 suggests that it's not just wide open, but also that they're struggling to find one. You know what I mean? That sort of way. Tommy, you're on mute there. What do you fancy?
Sorry, I'm cold and I keep coughing. I'm trying to keep it away from the thing. I think probably 3-2-6 maybe. I think Merits Inclusion. I think the to my mind has the best of the draw because the Epic Chick stepping out a little bit. Yes, there is a lot of early pace on the outside, but there's a bit of potential for a bit of bumping there. As I said if we could swap 5 and 6, obviously knowing that they were middle and wide seeds, that you're saying it might change things for me. I do think that Phoenix Tyson is a serious blocker to Knocking Dazzler. Unfortunately, might not be the case on Saturday night, but I would think the Merits Inclusion is the most likely winner. It doesn't need to do everything perfectly well. Doesn't need to do everything absolutely right to win. Scooby Pacemaker is similar. Doesn't have to do everything right. I think if Romeo Kingpin breaks to the best visibility, Scooby Pacemaker has a big chance. But that you're not going to be afforded, 4 lengths and try to pick that up in the race. It's probably going to be one in about 28-15 or 28-20. So 3-2-6 I'll go for.
Yeah, I'm very similar thinking to you. I'm going to go Merits Inclusion. I think he should be favourite. I really do. He'd be my selection. I actually think Knocking Dazzler, like if you take his progress through the competition, that run the other evening, it was just the way he ran to the line that impressed me so much as well. I really do think he's coming forward. And Knocking Dazzler will, as we saw the other evening, edge in. Now, it's a case of whether Merits Inclusion is not there or not, but I don't think there's any evidence to suggest Knocking Dazzler is not capable of running around them. No, no, sort of way. If there's any sort of bumping, he could arrive around the outside and find himself in front off the second bend. And from what we saw the other evening, he's not going to be picked up all too easy. I'll go with, though, with 3 merits inclusion. Go with 6 Nocky and Dazzler. And I think it's a battle for third spot between the inside duo in terms of my mind. Would I be surprised if any of them won it? No, but I would certainly be surprised if merits inclusion is 3-1 on the night. I don't think he should be that price. I think shrewd enough money will come from at that sort of price, because I think he's probably the most likely leader into the back straight, and I think that could be the key to success. But a cracking final, cracking renewal.
Yeah, it really is. But just talking about prices, and obviously they're 11-4 co-favorites now, and on the night they'll be different. And of course the lads who are standing on track will have their own say on it, and obviously the weight of money. But just looking back at last year's Derby final, and this is quite remarkable. There was 11-4 Ben's Teddy, 3-1 the winner of the other Kobe, 7-2 Music Glide Away, and 4-1 Buckles Crystal. There's another very open final.
And I think at the time we spoke about that being potentially the most open Derby final in 30 years.
Yeah.
And here we have it. Gentlemen, that's the Kirby Memorial. It's hard to believe it'll be done and dusted by sort of what time we're talking about, 9:30 on Saturday evening. It's been a wonderful stake as always. Year on year, it's become more and more important, not just because it's worth €80,000 and you've seen some terrific dogs winning it, but I think the strength year on year has gotten deeper and deeper and deeper. And while we have 6 wonderful finalists, I think there's probably 6 dogs every bit as talented that have gone out at earlier stages in the competition, perhaps not taken to Limerick or met traffic at the wrong time. And the fact that all these dogs are knocking about now with the English Derby and the Irish Derby later in the year to look forward to, it really does bode well for the remainder of the year, Joe. Obviously, it's the big feature at Limerick at this time of the year. A lot of these dogs will be back for the Ledger. We'll see them in the Laurels, English Derby, Irish Derby. It's going to be a great year, isn't it?
We're so proud of the Kirby in Limerick. Like I know the Ledger also has a very, very special place. But you hear every man that breeds a greyhound. Even Damien Matthews said it to me. He's like, when you're pupping these dogs down, that's what's going on in the back of your head. You're thinking Kirby. You're thinking Kirby. Ian Riley said it to me. He said, "I've always wanted to have a dog in the Kirby," and that's how much people, when these breeders and owners and trainers, I mean, it means everything to them to have a dog in the Kirby. And just for the McManus family, again, fantastic sponsorship. Great to see the GA clubs involved, and no, the competition means so much, and the depth in it, year in, year out, like the best of the best come out of the Kirby, and long may it continue, long may its success continue.
Absolutely. And Tommy, Joe's after. Don't go now. Like, listen, Limerick don't need enough boosting, right? Tommy, that's something we've touched on sort of ad nauseum the last 2 to 3 years, that there was a time where, you need a puppy Derby dog, or I'm looking for a Derby dog. It's always now when you're breeding one, people are looking to buy one. I need it, January, February, March. A December or November is now all of a sudden worth so much less than it used to be, because we need a Kirby dog. People are now looking for Kirby dogs rather than the Derby dog. By in essence, you get a Kirby dog, you have a Derby dog, but there's no restriction in age for a Derby. So why not have it qualify for the Kirby, and then we'll move on?
Yeah, but as I've said quite a few times over the last year or two, I know this year there's a disruption, but the calendar works very well for it now, because the dog that's in the Kirby now can be mature enough for the Derby. And in fact, the experience you pick up in a Kirby against the caliber of dogs you have to race against is invaluable for when you're stepping up into all age company and taking on the very, very best as the season goes on. So, like, it's a hugely important part of the calendar now. In terms of the development of the best pups in the country.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We look forward
Joe also said about the young people having great success, and I had a winner last week as well. So young people in the game are on the up.
Well done, Tommy.
Tommy, you're rearing for young people. You are not a young person yourself.
Sorry,
okay.
Yeah.
There's a big difference.
Do you not notice that you forget those things when you're a parent? It's like
I still feel 24, although my hangovers feel like I'm 54. Right, let's get on to it.
You nearly are 54. That's
no, I'm a fair way away from 54 now, son.
You're not.
You're 2 years closer than I am. Let's get on to the Select Stakes of Waterford, sponsored by Time Greyhound Nutrition, who continue to be one of the great sponsors in the sport. sport. And again, the select stakes, it has that unique sort of selling point that, you know, the best dogs in the Derby, Puppy Derby, and Laurels go forward to the second round. Isn't that the way it works? And here we have it. We've three wonderful heats on Saturday, and you think, wow, like you look through what's qualifying, you go, God, we have a chance here. And then all of a sudden they throw in what do they throw in? They throw in High Trend, Bocco's Crystal, and one more. What am I missing? It's Droopy Zelda. No, Droopy Zelda didn't qualify. Oh, here we'll come to it in a minute. I am losing it. I definitely am losing it. Let's look at the heats, right? The heats here. It was Droopy Zelda. Droopy Zelda's progressed. The heats of the select stakes at Waterford on Saturday evening. The opening heat went to Ballymacwalt in 28:39. The second heat to Droopy's Fidget in 28:36. And the last of the three heats went to Jack Tavern Bolt in 28:73. And while it was a much slower heat time, I thought it was a fine display by Jack Tavern Bolt, a dog who we get used to seeing going off the front. Well, he had to work hard for it the other evening. But let's go through the heat winners firstly. Ballymacwalt. This was a dog that's been listed on the online auction over the weekend. I'm not even sure if he's still owned by Liam Dowling, to be honest. The auction finishing last evening at 6 o'clock. I never got a chance to check it out, but he's in the next round of the Time Greyhound Nutrition Select Stakes, worth €10,000 to the winner. Good display by him, Tommy Ballymacwalt. Wasn't getting home in one or two of the rounds of the Easter Cup, but back to the 525-yard trip at a sharper track in Waterford. Mustang Sally said a strong gallop, but Ballymacwalt too close, cut through, led off the last bend and goes on to win. A good run by a very talented greyhound.
Yeah, a very good run because Mustang Sally did set a good pace, and he was always middle to wide. Ballymacwalt had to go, kind of do it the hard way by going around the outside and all that. The third dog, which I don't know much about, a Lucky Julie, and I'll leave that to you.
She's a nice type. She's run well at a couple of times. But she have to put in two big runs together in Newbridge in recent enough times, and I think that's why they decided to bring her down here. She's pacey.
Did you see what she did at the last bend? She nearly came out and ordered food and went back onto the track, and she's only beaten 2 lengths in that company. Like that's or 4 lengths. Like that was a huge run, absolutely huge run for a bitch that gave away so much ground.
Yeah, she's now a middle seed. She's drawn in trap 6 the second semi-final. So they must have been listening to you, Tom, in advance. Joe, the second heat went to Droopy's Fidget. Obviously, she ran so well in the Easter Cup, finishing third to Clonbrien Treaty. Second spot went to Trinity Junior, who was disputing the lead down the back straight, and Ballymacfin back in third. Quality performers, but Droopy's Fidget, she's just a bitch that's on a bit of a crest of a wave at the moment. She's plenty of recent form. She's in good nick, and she had the draw in her favour. She made full use of it. Robert Gleeson, a man who can boast a very strong kennel at present.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic run and great run to see. And also for Trinity Junior, I mean, he's rising 4 years of age. For him to be performing at such a consistent level, great to see him, and great credit to the Cronins there, but Peter Cronin's kennel. But yeah, fantastic run by Droopy's Fidget, 28:36, and it's a very, very hot select stakes. And you hit the nail on the head. Fantastic to see sponsors like Time Greyhound Nutrition and Willie Wrigley stepping up, and it's wonderful to see so many new sponsors in the game in recent times, and great to see, and fair play to them for putting their money where their mouth is and sponsoring these great events.
Yeah, on to the third of the 3 heats. And this went to Jack Tavern Bolt, Tommy. Avengate Venus said a blistering gallop. She's been in great form around Shelburne Park. I didn't think I'd see her leading in this contest, however. A real early speed on the inside. Another Holiday Ballymun Boy and Jack Tavern Bolt. And yet none of them could really get loose. Jack Tavern Bolt sort of just got squeezed out a little bit early. Showed pace, as did Ballymun Boy. Another Holiday turned second. I have him down outpaced down the back straight. Just 1 or 2 signs of late, Tommy. Maybe just the legs are going with Another Holiday. Just a bit disappointed with him the other evening. Jack Tavern Bolt and Ballymun Boy passing him into the third bend. Avengate Venus was leading at that point. Jack Tavern Bolt went to go up the inside, forced a check, maybe just slightly clipped Avengate Venus, but went to the front himself, Jack Tavern Bolt. And as I alluded to in my introduction, the 28:73, I think you can take a bit off that. Like, when you consider how fast this dog is to the opening corner, I think he's still a major player in this select stakes despite the time.
Like if you stop the video anywhere from the traps to about the third bend, you're kind of saying, well, he still can't win, Jack Tavern Bolt. Yeah. That's what I was expecting when I was watching, thinking, no, he can't win from here. So and not alone did he win, but he was pulling away nicely in the straight. So yeah, like forget about the time. And actually, it was quite a good heat. It was a decent heat. And like Ballymun boy is a really good dog. Another Holiday, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe maybe so. I'm not so sure. He is in October 20, isn't he? So he's 3.5 years of age. He's 3.5 years of age. So maybe he's catching up a little bit. I'd say there's a few more races in him yet, but
Yeah. Watch now.
yeah,
He's gonna ping out and win the final in the fortnight. So
well,
that's
this is
sure to happen.
this is the kind of competition he kind of has to be winning, because his chances of winning feature events from this stage of his career, it gets immeasurably more difficult as each of the months pass
Yeah.
by now. So this is the type of one where he has to pop out.
Yeah. Ballymun Boy ran well in second spot as well.
Mm.
Another dog that you'd expect to be off the front rather than coming from off the pace, but he's thoroughly capable of playing a big part in this competition. But again, Jack Tavern Bolt, expect much better from him, especially if he gets his trapping boots in order. 2 semi-finals, as I've said, 3 dogs being added in here. High Trend, be very interesting to see him. He was so impressive in his last race at Shelburne Park, Tommy. He's a dog, I think, who's developed since last year. Trap 5 is an issue, but he's such a professional. You just couldn't rule him out. But there is real early speed in his inside. Mustang Sally and 2 will likely edge onto the fence. Ballymacfin obviously can go up well, but Jack Tavern Bolt from that draw with Trinity Junior and 4 likely to go up straight. You'd expect Jack Tavern Bolt perhaps to go up a bit faster than did the other night. High Trend Lead to be flying from 5 and Ballymac Walled out in Trap 6. Cracking heat. Like this would be, for a 5 to 5 yard competition, like this would be fitting of any final. There's real early speed, real professionalism there.
If what I've seen from High Trend recently is a fair reflection of where High Trend is going, then I don't mind. I can get over the draw fairly quickly. He's looking exceptional, and we did talk about it a couple of weeks ago, probably saying that.
Yeah, I think it was last week.
That was the last week. Maybe he's going to stay 550. He looks like a proper dog now, which is a funny thing to say about a dog that won the Laurels last year.
Yeah,
That
no,
we're only saying it now.
it really struck me how well he finished in Shelburne Park
Yeah.
the last night, and I agree with you. To be honest, like if they put him up at 50-1 for Toaster, I think I'd be tempted, because if he goes, you give him an inside draw on Toaster, not too many going to lead him. And from what we saw in Shelburne the other night off that last bend, not too many going to pass him either. Cracking heat. Second semi-final, another Holiday, Droopy's Zelda, Droopy's Fidget, Ballymun Boy. It's interesting he's out in 4. He likes the fence. Bocco's Crystal, she's out in 5. She's an inside seed, but she finished second in a derby from that type of draw. And a Lucky Julie on the outside, now a middle seed. An interesting heat, Joe. Not perhaps as stacked as the opening heat, but very interesting to see how Bocco's Crystal goes. Her returning to action here. She'll need to be on her toes early, but certainly a big player.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an absolutely cracking heat, and it's to see, as you said, the mix of like Laurels when are there, High Trend, and just the mix and the wealth of experience these dogs. That's why I always love to select stakes year in year out, like the experience and the talent, and it's so much depth in it. And looking forward to seeing it.
Experience and talent. Sounds like you're talking about myself and Tommy. Huh? What can I say? Let's move on from the Time Greyhound Nutrition Select Stakes at Waterford. A cracking night's action at Waterford on Saturday night in store, 2 semi-finals. Let's just touch upon the semi-finals of the Suncroft Festival Puppy Oaks at Shelburne Park. The opening heat was a 4-dog affair. Currogue Lady charged up the inside to take over from Fairy Footsteps. Ravens with Elsie looked like she just had a margin lead on the corner. They clashed. They all sort of lost ground. Droopy's Wriggle was out the back at that point, forced to check, and it was a strange sort of heat. Currogue Lady found herself in front after a night-catching run defeat in the first round. Good run the other evening. Obviously, it's considerably slower than the second heat, but there are 4 very talented ladies. You have to feel for Ravens with Elsie, who look probably likely to go round in front, found that traffic, and all of a sudden find yourself 4th and out of the competition. But the ones that go through, they're all capable of, well, perhaps an even seconds faster than they went the other evening. Droopy's Wriggle is particularly fast. We saw that in the Brownstown Tango when raced at Newbridge, but hard to sort of judge in this contest. Tommy Currogue Lady, we saw her in the Juvenile Classic. She's a lovely type. She can go up much faster. She's going to need to find her trapping boots, but I wouldn't be ruling her out in the final.
I wouldn't either, Ian, because we saw her in Tralee and she got to the final, which in itself is an achievement. I mean, to get to a Juvenile Classic final, 4 runs is impressive. 28.42 around Tralee. I think it's fair to say she's still only finding her feet. And, if she doesn't feature in the final, does it really matter that much? I don't think so for her development. I don't think it does, because I think going to be plenty more to come. She'll have great opportunities. Yes, it will be great for connections. She actually did well to stay on her feet. Actually, the first bend, there was a
Yeah,
hefty bump.
I wrote that in the article. I said she did well to even just maintain her balance because
Yeah,
she could have
I
easily
think I
just
said
tumbled
something
over.
similar.
Yeah, yeah, she could
Yeah.
have easily tumbled over. And again, the time isn't reflective of the quality on show. Like, you see Droopy's Wriggle does 29.52 in the Vite, and you're going to say, like, she actually ran well. She showed real pace down the back straight. Like, she has 28.20 on her card, and she'll be doing that again. She's got a great draw on the fence if she can hit the lids. Joe, in the second heat, Ballymac Danica. Any bitch that can do 27.83 around Limerick is pretty special. Did you ever think you'd see the likes?
Oh my God, what a run that night! And to think, even after doing that kind of run, following week she's out. I mean, that's the strength of the Kirby. It does 27.
I was only told the other night. Someone said it to me in passing, and I hadn't noticed it. But that night she did the record. I think she may have got loose and done a second lap, and I think that might have, sort of given you a reason why she ran just that touch flat the following week.
Well, Limerick is a tough track, and even to do another lap after that, it is like it's Limerick is a stiff track and takes a lot out of not so much a lot, but it's it's a great test of a dog, and that would make sense because the age was kind of maybe a bit knocked off after that. But I mean, what a run, 27.83, just phenomenal. He looks back to that form. To be fair, like 28 around Shelburne and 28.34. I mean, she's
She's very special. Shelburne hasn't been bouncing. It's been noticeable. The track's been going well and it's going okay, but dogs that you'd expect to be doing 28.60 runs are doing 28.90 runs. So it's not flying at the moment. So I think this 28.28, 28.34 is. I think they're both huge runs, but in defeat, Sober Sparkle and Crafty Bondi also showed immense pace. Tommy, you wouldn't mind owning any of the first three home in the second semi-final.
Oh, it's exactly what I thought about it. Watching when Ballymac Danica broke, you thought this is going to be an absolutely monster run, and it probably was. But I think I wrote in my report this morning that the two of them, Sober Sparkle and Crafty Bondi, showed some immense pace in defeat. Was the competition priced? Was it priced before the semi-finals?
Yes. Ballymac but the Ballymac Danica bitch was around the 11 to 8, 6 to 4 mark, I think. Before the semis. I don't know if it's been
entitled to be. So I think probably. But I tell you, looking at that run the other night from both of those, I know Crafty Bondi will, in particular, will always need a little bit of luck because of the lack of early pace. But by God, she's got some ability. And Sober Sparkle, who I didn't really know an awful lot about, and I had been looking it up and seen, beaten in Kilkenny a few times, and then went to Dublin, came from off the pace, winning the race. It's just they're very dangerous. Young bitches like that, when they develop very quickly like that, all of a sudden seem to be finding their feet like that. Who knows how far they can go? And Sober Sparkle could be a star in the making.
Yeah, she could be absolutely anything, no question about it. A great final to look forward to. There were some fine runs on the undercard. When you see the likes of Caracino, took a flyer, did everything right, 28.50. It puts into place that 28.20, 34 run of Ballymac Danica and the run of the two bitches in behind as well. There's also a dog I just want to mention because he's sort of a dog that he's after producing 2 or 3 runs now that I haven't been given enough sort of credence to, and I think he's just caught me on sort of backwards. Karma King for Owen McKenna. I like Droopy's metaphor a lot. And Karma King left him standing the other night in the final race. I thought it was an unbelievable performance. I think he could be anything. He's March 22. He has 14 starts in his card now, but it's only in recent times that he's really caught the eye. And I think Timmy Carmody and Owen McKenna have stumbled upon one there. And I think 550 yards will really be his bag. He already won in 29.78 on Easter Cup final night. He's only a spot slower than Clonbrine Treaty. That says it. But on that night, I was putting it down to 1 or 2 things happening in the early yards that suited him. The other night, he had to force his way to the front, and just a really, really, really fast greyhound. Lots to like about him. And so we finish off the Irish action at Curraheen Park, Tommy, because we had a tremendous winner of the Greyhound Pet World Supersprint in Road Exile. He's a professional sprinter, worked hard the other night to get there, and a terrific performance. Droopy Zelda really put it up to him. She's now in the select stakes. She'll run well in that, I've no doubt about it. But Road Exile, a tremendous winner.
Yeah, and the race worked out exactly as you would hope it would be in terms of being very competitive. Okay, Romeo Taylor didn't break and was never really competitive, but trap one for an inexperienced dog in a sprint in Curry Park is difficult. Druby Zelda broke very well. Road Exile broke well and had to battle really, really hard. And there was a bit of quality. I mean, there's only a half a length in it in the end. It actually turned out to be a great final. I think we both kind of fancied Road Exile. That might and even the way it worked out, that Zelda would be the danger from the draw and all that. But yeah, really, really good competition.
Yeah, really cracking sprint competition. Sprinters don't get the sort of kudos they should.
No.
Obviously, we recognise one at Friday night at Limerick because Carrick Aldo was named Sprinter of the Year. Dog of the Year was the other Kobe, the Derby champion. He was also named Supreme Greyhound of the Year. Bitch of the Year, Crafty Shavu. In a very open year, the Oaks' success always does tend to tip the scales. Over the 750 yards, or the marathon performer went to Kinturk Road. She won 3 major competitions. Of course, Cork, Curraheen. She won the deadly Open 750. She also won the Irish Cambridgeshire and, of course, won the Stayers Classic, the Corn Cullen. The Brood Bitch of the Year was Mount Taylor Queen, following the success of the other Kobe, a second Derby success in a row for her as a dam, the first dam to throw Derby winners, 2 Derby winners from the same litter. And Stud Dog of the Year, surprise, surprise, ladies and gentlemen, it was Droopy Sydney. Wow, that's a major surprise. The Human Awards, of course, John and Patricia Nash, the Welfare Award. Special merit went to Finbar Coleman, who was there on the night. Great speaker, Finbar. Just the loveliest gentleman, Tommy. And, of course, Joe Dennis O'Malley, inducted into the Hall of Fame. Tommy, firstly, Finbar Coleman, I think thoroughly deserved.
Oh, very much so. Very much a man, and a man who always went about his business in the greyhound industry without upsetting anybody. It can be, you can be in difficult positions in management in greyhound racing, and he just dealt with everybody fairly and never a bad word about anybody. Just went about his business, did it, and was liked very much for that. He's a great man. It was great to see him there, and I think his kids and his grandkids were there on Friday night. So it was a brilliant thing, and much deserved.
Yeah, no, an absolute gentleman, no question about it. Finbar Coleman, thoroughly deserved. Well done on the Special Merit Award. Joe, Dennis O'Malley, a man you would have known very, very well. Obviously you're a lot younger than him, but I got the impression, listening to a couple of interviews from him from the past and speaking to those that knew him very well, that he was a very progressive thinking man, a forward thinking man. I said it in the citation the other night. He was never afraid to forget about the past and look forward.
No, I really mean it when I say it. Every minute I spent talking to that man was an education. He was. I was very sad to hear he died. He was a fantastic man. He was a fountain of knowledge and very, very forward thinking. He was very intelligent.
Yeah.
His memory of all times, honestly, he used to sit at a table in Limerick. We used to call it the table of knowledge. Him and Tony O'Neill and John Long and a few more. And
Tony was there the other night. Tony's close on 90 years of age, and he was there the other night celebrating his great friend getting the Hall of Fame.
And it's hard, we know so many of these great greyhound people. When you see them pass away, it's hard. But Dennis was, I don't use the term loosely, he was a very unique man, and I love being in this company. I had my first dog with him when I was about 16. There was a syndicate of us, and I used to love going over to his place and just sit and listen to him, just staying silent and listening to that man. He was a fantastic man. He was a gentleman. He was. I couldn't speak highly enough of him. And may God give him the best bed in heaven. He was a great man, and he'll be sorely missed.
Yeah, his family was there the other evening. His wife Carmel got to speak to her for a few minutes, and she was delighted. She was delighted with the accolade. Obviously, they're still upset. Dennis passed away in February, but it must be pointed out that this was not a posthumous award. He had been awarded Hall of Fame a few weeks prior to his passing, and a thoroughly deserved winner, and greatly missed by certainly all in the Limerick Greyhound community, but across the country. Mike Nash told the stories of no matter where they went, Dennis knew somebody and would chat and chat and chat. And Joe has alluded to it there. A very intelligent man. Listening to his interview with Josh Prendeville from, I'm going to say it's about 6 years ago. It's still online. It's up there. And in the middle of it all, he just started quoting Lord Alfred or Alfred Lord Tennyson. And it was just out of nowhere. And Mike said he was the type of fella that could just pop up with a quote from Shakespeare or something like that. But just a very, very well sort of rounded individual, a great character, and by all accounts, I wish I knew him better than I ever did. I'm sure I met Dennis on a couple of occasions, but obviously not like Joe or anybody in the Limerick Greyhound community. We send our congratulations to his family. Tommy.
He must have been some man to keep Joe quiet.
I'll tell you, that perhaps is one of his greatest ever achievements.
He had a bank of quotes, and one of them was that the ounce of reading is worth a ton. But I remember my first phone call ringing Dennis, and he won the trainers championships in Limerick many times, and I was ringing him to ask him would he take a dog for us. And I remember being on the phone for an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Just listen, talk about old times, and he was a great man of faith. His faith meant an awful lot to him as well, and yeah, he was a very special man, and I'm really glad for him and all the family that he was recognised in the Hall of Fame, because he was he was a massive character, and he is sorely missed by us all and further afield.
Of course, it wasn't just for his character that he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. He was also a trainer of some repute. He brought along the likes of Moral Standards. He had Jackie Come Home, who reached the Oaks and Derby final, just beating a short head in the Oaks. She got Trap 1 in the Derby final, having won a couple of the earlier rounds. And from Trap 1, she was never going to figure, but she was a star. He also had the likes of Clearly Written, Castle Ivy Crash, some very, very fast greyhounds, but yeah, too many to mention over the years. So again, our hearty congratulations to his family on the honour bestowed to him, but also our commiserations and serious condolences on the passing of Dennis back in February. Gentlemen, just to finish off proceedings, we mentioned that they're earlier on Fay Point Harvey. A good start for the Irish. They had a number of runners at Toaster on Sunday afternoon. Graham Holland had a treble. I think he is setting the tone for what may happen in Toaster over the next weeks and months, because the Irish look like they will be landing with a bit of a crash into Toaster. I think they're going to make some noise. Fay Point Harvey, a tremendous winner of the juvenile the other day, had never looked at Toaster, never mind had a trial or anything like it, but flashed out, made every inch of the running. Just a fantastic performance. You'd imagine he'll come on considerably for run. He might need to, because Droopy's Clue, the reigning greyhound of the year in the UK, got loose and did 28.58, set new track record at Toaster the other afternoon. So perhaps the English will have one or two to take us on, but I'd be strongly suggesting we have a very, very strong contingent. Gentlemen, as always, my heartiest appreciation to both of you for all you've contributed today. Joe, seriously, you got to get rid of the dicky bow, right? You got to get rid of the dicky bow. You're the hardest working man in show business. We don't want to scare away your fans with such hideous accompaniments. Tommy, what do you think of it?
I'll leave it to Joe. He's a lot younger than I am. He'd know more about fashion than I would.
There's not many fences, unfortunately. There's not many fences to scare away. That's the problem.
Well, I can tell you what, when I see your schedule, you must have a few. You must have a few, because you definitely are the hardest working man in show business.
Oh,
the commitments have nothing on you.
We have to keep the Joe show on the road. Best of luck to all the runners Saturday night. Make sure you get out to Limerick Greyhound Stadium. There's a great Sean O'Connor Cup Memorial final as well. It's going to be a cracking night, lots of open racing, and make sure you get on out. And best of luck to all the GA clubs as well. It's going to be a cracking night.
Yeah, well, it's safe to say, ladies and gentlemen, we are in full flow. The Greyhound year has absolutely hit a pace. We have the final of the Annie Kirby Memorial at Limerick on Saturday night, the final of the Time Greyhound Nutrition, or semi-finals of the Time Greyhound Nutrition Select Stakes at Waterford. We have the final of the Suncroft Festival Puppy Oaks from Shelburne Park, worth €10,000 to the winner. And these are all stars. These are all going to go places, sponsored again by Tony and Lorraine Howard, one of the great couples in the sport, just the most generous people, and our continued gratitude to them for their support of the Puppy Oaks. But it's absolutely full pace from now. I expect plenty of Irish to be going across the water over the next few weeks as well. That's it, though, from this Talking Dogs on a Monday. My thanks again to the exiled dub Tommy Lyons, and to Pee Wee Herman down the bottom there, Joe Sheahan. We see you next time, but that's it from us this evening. Again, best of luck to all the connections with runners in finals over the weekend, especially in the Con and Annie Kirby Memorial. Good evening, good luck, God bless.